Fleet Commander Zax'motl stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Dominion, watching the blue marble called Earth grow larger on his view screen. What a joke. 9,900 ships to conquer this. He almost felt insulted by the assignment. Commander, his aide, Sub-Marshal Cleet Knox, approached with nervous reverence. The fleet reports all systems ready for planetary subjugation. Zax'motl's 4 eyes rolled in perfect synchronization. Subjugation? Please. This isn't subjugation, this is pest control. He gestured dismissively at the planet with one of his 6 arms. Look at it, Cleet Knox. No orbital defenses. No plasma shields. No quantum barriers. These humans still use chemical propulsion. Chemical. Can you believe that? The bridge crew erupted in what passed for Korthak laughter, a sound like grinding metal mixed with dying machinery. Oh, how sophisticated they were. How advanced. How utterly superior to these primitive meatbags floating around their little dirt ball. Intelligence reports they still fight wars with projectile weapons, sir. Another officer chimed in, consulting his datapad. Actual bullets. Made of metal. More mechanical laughter. Zax'motl shook his massive head, his cranial ridges gleaming under the bridge lights. Metal bullets. Against armor that can withstand plasma cannons. This is going to be over before lunch. He paused, savoring the moment. Make that before second breakfast. The Korthak Empire had conquered 47 worlds in the past decade. 47. Each one had put up at least some resistance. The Zephyrians had their energy shields. The Chromax had their bioweapons. The Tellarians had those annoying cloaking devices. But Earth? Earth had what? Flying metal tubes and explosive powder? Sir, should we perhaps reduce our fleet size? Cleet Knox asked hesitantly. 9,900 ships seems excessive for such a primitive species. Zax'motl's laugh could have powered a small space station. Excessive? My dear Cleet Knox, this isn't about efficiency. This is about making a statement. When word spreads across the galaxy that we brought nearly 10,000 ships to crush these humans, every other species will surrender before we even ask. He leaned back in his command chair, already composing his victory report in his head. Besides, he added with supreme confidence, what's the worst that could happen? Famous last words, as the humans would say. Not that Zax'motl knew that expression yet, but he was about to learn it the hard way. Zax'motl straightened his ceremonial conquest robes and activated the planetary communication array. Time for the traditional surrender demand. He'd done this 47 times before, and it always went the same way. Threaten. Demand. Accept surrender. Move on to the victory feast. Attention, primitive inhabitants of the third planet, his voice boomed across every communication frequency on Earth. I am Fleet Commander Zax'motl of the Korthak Empire. You are surrounded by 9,900 warships. Surrender immediately, and your deaths will be quick. He leaned back, satisfied. Now came the usual part, terrified screaming, desperate pleas for mercy, maybe some pathetic attempts at negotiation. Instead, silence. Then, Commander? Cleet Knox stared at his console with confusion. We're receiving responses. Excellent. Read me their surrender terms. Well, the first one says new phone, who dis? And there's a picture attached. It appears to be a small Earth creature with large eyes and the text "Why you no surrender" properly? Zax'motl's 4 eyes narrowed. What? More messages flooded in. Cleet Knox's voice grew increasingly bewildered. This one offers to deliver something called pizza to our ships within 30 minutes or less. Another asks if we accept cryptocurrency as payment for what appears to be insurance for our invasion fleet. What? Oh, and sir, we're receiving a formal response from someone calling themselves Admiral Mackenzie Steele of the Terran Defense Force. Finally. Put it through. The main screen flickered to life, revealing a human female in a military uniform, sitting casually in what appeared to be a command center. Behind her, other humans were laughing, playing some sort of game. One was eating what looked like a sandwich. Hey there, tentacle face? Admiral Steele waved cheerfully. Love the whole doomed fleet aesthetic you've got going. I peaked in high school energy. So, let me get this straight, you brought 10,000 ships to fight us. 9,900, Zax'motl corrected automatically. Right, sorry. 9,900? That's adorable. Did you bring enough for everyone, or should we call your mom to pack more? She turned to someone off screen. Hey, Marcus. These guys brought almost 10,000 ships. Isn't that precious? A voice from off-screen replied, Oh, look at them trying so hard. Should we tell them about the orbital defense grid, or let it be a surprise? Steele grinned. Surprise. Where's the fun without surprises? Zax'motl felt his brain trying to process this, whatever this was. You're not taking this seriously. Oh, we're taking it seriously, Steele replied, still smiling. We've already placed bets on how many of your ships will actually make it back home. Current odds are, let me check, she consulted a tablet. 17. Maybe 18 if you're really lucky. This is impossible. We have superior technology, superior firepower, superior numbers. Sure, buddy, Steele nodded sympathetically. You keep telling yourself that. Oh, and thanks for the heads up about the invasion. Really sporting of you. Most folks just show up unannounced. The transmission ended. Zax'motl stared at the blank screen, his mind reeling. What in the seven hells of Korthak had just happened? Deploy the first wave, Zax'motl commanded, his confidence only slightly shaken by that bizarre conversation. 1,000 ships. Target their major population centers. Standard planetary suppression protocol. The Korthak invasion manual was very clear on this point. Chapter 12, Section 4. Overwhelm primitive defenses with superior firepower. Expect surrender within 6 standard time units. Simple, sufficient, foolproof, or so they thought. The first wave descended on Earth's major cities like mechanical locusts, their plasma cannons charging, energy shields shimmering. This was it, the easy part. The part where terrified primitives ran screaming while their pathetic military crumbled like wet sand. Instead, the humans started shooting back, with bullets. Actual, honest-to-Korthak metal bullets. Sir. Communications Officer Vex'kala's voice cracked with panic. Battle Group 7 reports taking heavy fire from projectile weapons. Zax'motl's mandibles clicked in amusement. Projectile weapons? Against our shields? Those idiots are probably bouncing bullets off our hulls like raindrops. Tell Battle Group 7 to stop being dramatic and finish the job. Sir, they're not bouncing off. What? The bullets, sir? They're going through our shields. Clean through. Like the shields aren't even there. This was impossible. Absolutely impossible. Korthak energy shields could stop plasma bolts, particle beams, even low-yield fusion bombs. But somehow primitive hunks of metal fired from crude chemical explosions were passing through like the shields were made of mist. How? Zax'motl demanded. Nobody had an answer. But Dr. Elena Voss, a human physicist working frantically in a basement laboratory in what was once called Chicago, certainly did. It's basic quantum mechanics, you idiots. She shouted at her team while frantically welding what appeared to be a toaster to a car battery. Their shields are calibrated for energy weapons. They probably never encountered kinetic projectiles in their technological development. Her colleague, Professor Tom Martinez, was busy turning a microwave oven into something that definitely wasn't designed for reheating leftovers. So we're fighting space aliens with the technological equivalent of rocks and sticks. Rocks and sticks that they never learned to defend against. Elena cackled like a mad scientist, which technically she now was. Hand me that blender. Meanwhile, on the ground, Captain Rex Thornfield was having the time of his life. Military doctrine said you retreated when facing superior forces. Military doctrine said you used cover. Military doctrine said you followed the chain of command. Captain Rex Thornfield had apparently never read military doctrine. Listen up, Marines, he bellowed over the sound of plasma fire. These aliens expect us to act like soldiers. So we're gonna act like something else entirely. What's that, sir? Sergeant Lisa Park shouted back. Humans. What followed could only be described as the most beautifully chaotic display of tactical insanity ever witnessed. Cornfield's unit didn't retreat, they charged. They didn't use cover, they made their own by dropping buildings on alien positions. They didn't follow orders, they improvised. One squad used shopping carts as mobile shields. Another team turned city buses into battering rams. Private Jake Wilson discovered that if you duct taped enough fireworks together, you could make an alien drop pod think twice about landing. Sir Cleet Knox's voice trembled as he read the battle reports. Our ground forces report that the humans are unpredictable. Unpredictable how? They're not following standard military tactics. They're not even following their own military tactics. One group is using children's playground equipment as catapults. Another has somehow weaponized a coffee shop. Zax'motl felt a headache forming behind his primary eyes. How do you weaponize a coffee shop? We don't know, sir. But Battle Group 3 reports heavy casualties from caffeinated projectiles and something called a latte launcher. This wasn't going according to plan. This wasn't going according to any plan. This was going according to pure, unfiltered human madness. And somehow it was working. Deploy the second wave, Zax'motl ordered, his voice tight with growing frustration. 2,000 ships this time, and tell them to expect irregularities. The second wave launched with grim determination. Surely the humans couldn't maintain this level of chaotic resistance. Every species broke eventually. Every species followed predictable patterns. Every species had limits. Apparently, nobody had told the humans about limits. The second wave encountered something far worse than bullets and improvised weapons. They encountered humans who had been watching, learning, adapting. Commander. Vex Kala's voice reached new octaves of panic. The humans, they're using our own weapons against us. That's impossible. Our technology is centuries ahead of theirs. Tell that to Battle Group 12, sir. They're being fired upon by their own plasma cannons. In what used to be New York, Corporal Maya Blackwood was having the time of her life with a pile of salvaged alien technology. The wreckage of a Korthak scout ship lay scattered around her like the galaxy's most expensive jigsaw puzzle. Okay, she muttered, elbow deep in alien circuitry. If I cross this crystal thingy with this metal doodad, and then bezate. Ouch, not that way. She sucked on her singed finger. Right, polarities. Always about the polarities. 3 hours later, Maya had somehow jury-rigged a plasma cannon that worked better than the original. Don't ask how. Even she wasn't entirely sure. Something about reversing the quantum flux and adding a piece of chewing gum for structural support. Hey, Sarge, she called out cheerfully. I figured out how to make their guns go boom louder. Sergeant Mike Torres looked at the contraption. It looked like alien technology had mated with a hardware store and produced offspring that defied several laws of physics. Does it work? Does it work? Watch this. Maya aimed at an abandoned alien tank and pulled the trigger. The resulting explosion could be seen from orbit. I'll take 10, Torres said. But if the humans' rapid adaptation was troubling, their psychological warfare was absolutely baffling. Professor Jake Millerson had turned human unpredictability into an art form, a deadly art form. The key, he explained to his graduate students while setting up speakers around the campus, is to make them question everything they think they know about combat. Observe. The next Korthak assault team that landed found themselves facing a mariachi band. A very loud, very enthusiastic mariachi band playing what sounded like death metal mixed with polka. What are they doing? Asked squad leader Toxnilk, his weapon lowering in confusion. I think they're singing at us, replied his subordinate. Is this some form of sonic attack? I don't know. My training didn't cover musical warfare. The mariachi band, led by Professor Millerson wearing a sombrero and wielding an electric guitar like a weapon, launched into an aggressive rendition of La Cucaracha that had been specifically modified to interfere with Korthak neural frequencies. Half the squad dropped their weapons and started what could only be described as involuntary dancing. The other half fled in terror. Psychological warfare, gentlemen. Millerson called out to his students. When they expect bullets, give them Bach. When they expect bombs, give them Broadway. Across the planet, similar scenes played out. Humans met alien invasion forces with interpretive dance, with street mimes who somehow made their invisible boxes actually impenetrable, and with comedians whose jokes were so bad they caused physical pain to alien nervous systems. In Seattle, a team of baristas discovered that Korthak warriors were highly allergic to caffeine-infused steam. In Texas, a group of cowboys found that alien hover tanks could be lassoed and ridden like very expensive mechanical bulls. In Florida, well, Florida did Florida things. And even the aliens decided not to ask questions. Sir, Cleet Knox reported, his voice hollow with despair, our forces are requesting emotional support. Emotional support? The humans have somehow made war confusing. Our soldiers don't know whether they're being attacked or entertained. Battle Group 15 surrendered to a children's puppet show. Battle Group 18 was defeated by a group of humans playing some sort of competitive sport with explosive spheres. Zax'motl stared at the tactical display showing his forces in full retreat from a food truck. How are they adapting so quickly? Our intelligence said they were primitive. Sir, I don't think they're adapting, Cleet Knox said quietly. I think this is just how they normally are. The horrible realization began to dawn on Zax'motl. They weren't fighting a military. They weren't fighting a government. They weren't even fighting an organized resistance. They were fighting an entire species of beautiful, chaotic, impossibly adaptable lunatics. And somehow, the lunatics were winning. By the time Zax'motl ordered the third wave, something fundamental had changed. The humans were no longer just defending. They were hunting. Commander, Vexkala's voice had gone from panic to resigned. The third wave reports humans in space. But what do you mean, humans in space? They don't have proper spacecraft. That's what we thought, sir. But apparently they've improvised. Lieutenant Sophia Ramirez had indeed improvised. Using salvaged alien engines, a lot of prayer, and what appeared to be the frame of an old pickup truck, she'd built something that technically qualified as a spacecraft. Barely. Control? This is Junkyard 1. Sophia's voice crackled over the comm as her impossible flying machine somehow kept pace with alien fighters. I've got eyes on 3 bogies at 2 o'clock. Permission to engage? Junkyard 1, you don't have weapons, came the reply from ground control. About that, Sophia grinned, reaching for what looked like a modified leaf blower duct taped to her control panel. But I've got Professor Martinez's special ammo loaded. Firing now. The leaf blower launched a stream of ball bearings, nuts, bolts, and what appeared to be refrigerator magnets at the alien fighters. The magnets stuck to their hulls while the ball bearings ricocheted around their engines in ways that definitely violated their warranties. 2 alien fighters spun out of control. The third tried to retreat but found its navigation system hopelessly confused by the refrigerator magnets spelling out rude messages across its sensor array. Scratch 3 bogies, Sophia reported cheerfully. Junkyard 1 returning to base for more improvised ammunition. But Sophia's flying junk heap was just the beginning. Somehow humans had started boarding alien ships. Not through sophisticated docking procedures or advanced technology, but through sheer bloody-minded determination and an alarming amount of duct tape. Commander Vincent Hayes had turned infiltration into performance art. His team didn't sneak aboard alien vessels, they made such spectacular entrances that the aliens were too confused to shoot. Remember, people, Vincent whispered to his team as they prepared to breach yet another Korthak cruiser, we're not soldiers. We're very enthusiastic tourists who got lost. The plan was ridiculous. The execution was flawless. Vincent's team used industrial strength magnets to attach themselves to the alien hull, then cut through with what appeared to be a modified pizza cutter powered by a car battery. Once inside, they didn't fight their way to the bridge, they asked for directions. "Excuse me," Vincent said politely to a bewildered Korthak warrior. "Could you point us toward your command center? We seem to have taken a wrong turn at the airlock." The alien, trained for combat but not customer service, actually pointed down the corridor before realizing what he'd done. "Thank you so much," Vincent's team chorused, then proceeded to the bridge where they politely requested the ship's immediate surrender while offering the crew homemade cookies. It worked. Nobody in the Korthak military handbook had prepared them for aggressively friendly boarders bearing baked goods. But perhaps the most disturbing realization for the aliens was that humans treated the entire invasion like some sort of competitive sport. "Current score," announced a human broadcaster whose signal had somehow hijacked the Korthak military communications network. "Humans, 47 ships disabled. Aliens, 0 points for style, -10 for poor sportsmanship." Ground teams were keeping tallies. Pilots painted kill marks on their improvised fighters. Someone had started a betting pool on which alien commander would surrender first. "Sir," Cleet Knox reported in defeated tones, "the humans have established what they call leaderboards. They're ranking our commanders by how spectacular their defeats have been." Zax'motl was currently ranked 3rd, behind someone called Tentacle Face McSpaceship and that guy with the shiny hat. The rankings included helpful commentary like "decent invasion attempt," "poor follow-through," and "nice try, buddy." "They've turned war into a game?" Zax'motl whispered in horror. "It gets worse, sir. They're live streaming the battles. Apparently we have viewers across 17 different human entertainment platforms. The current viewer count is 2.3 billion. 2.3 billion humans were watching the invasion like it was entertainment. They had commentary tracks. They had instant replays. Someone was selling merchandise with slogans like "I survived the Korthak invasion and all I got was this lousy t-shirt." "Sir," Communications Officer Vex Kala interrupted, "we're receiving another transmission from Admiral Steele." The screen flickered to life, showing the human admiral sitting in what appeared to be a sports commentary booth, complete with statistics and slow-motion replays of alien ships being disabled by flying garbage. "Hey there, Zax," she waved cheerfully. "Great show so far. Really loving the whole overwhelming force meets unstoppable chaos dynamic you've got going. Quick question though, do you guys want to surrender now? Or should we wait until halftime?" Behind her, humans were literally keeping score on a giant chalkboard. The current tally read, "Humans having fun, aliens confused and sad." Zax'motl stared at the screen in existential terror. These weren't warriors. These weren't soldiers. These were people who had turned an interstellar invasion into a spectator sport and were winning by not taking it seriously. How do you fight an enemy that treats your greatest military effort like their weekend entertainment? "All ships." Zax'motl's voice cracked across the Korthak command frequency. "General retreat. Repeat, general retreat. Exit Earth's gravity well immediately." What followed could only be described as the most panicked, chaotic, undignified retreat in the history of galactic warfare. 9,883 Korthak warships fleeing from flying garbage trucks and mariachi bands. Ships collided with each other in their desperate rush to escape. Captains abandoned their crews. One battlecruiser tried to hide behind the moon, apparently forgetting that humans had already proven they could track anything larger than a bread box. "Sir," Cleet Knox shouted over the alarms, "the humans are pursuing." Indeed they were. Sergeant Aria Cross, who had apparently appointed herself head of Alien Pest Control Services, was leading a cleanup crew of humans in what appeared to be flying lawn mowers armed with Roman candles. "Attention, fleeing space bugs." Aria's voice boomed across all frequencies. "This is your friendly neighborhood exterminator. You've got exactly 5 minutes to clear Earth's airspace before we start charging overtime rates." Her pest control team was having entirely too much fun herding terrified alien warships like sheep, using improvised spacecraft that had no business flying, let alone fighting. They systematically disabled any ship that wasn't retreating fast enough. "Bogey at 3 o'clock is trying to hide behind that satellite," reported one of her team members flying what looked like a weaponized ice cream truck. Permission to engage? Permission granted. But remember, we want them gone, not vaporized, bad for property values. The ice cream truck's musical jingle played as it launched a barrage of frozen treats that somehow jammed the alien ship's engines. The Korthak vessel limped away, trailing smoke and dignity. Zax'motl watched in horror as his mighty fleet was systematically shooed away from Earth like pigeons from a park bench. Ships that had conquered worlds were being defeated by humans armed with kitchen appliances and an alarming lack of respect for the laws of physics. "Final count, sir," Vexkala reported, his voice hollow. 17 ships successfully cleared Earth's gravity well. 17, out of 9,900. The rest were either disabled and being towed to what the humans cheerfully called alien impound lots, or had surrenders accepted by humans who seemed more interested in taking selfies with their prisoners than proper military protocol. "Sir," communications crackled to life. "High Command is requesting your immediate report." Zax'motl's mandibles clicked nervously. "How do you explain to the Supreme War Council that you lost 99.8% of your fleet to a species that weaponized coffee shops and treated interstellar warfare like amateur entertainment?" "High Command," he began, his voice barely a whisper. "This is Fleet Commander Zax'motl. Mission status unsuccessful." "Unsuccessful? What happened to the primitive species?" They're not primitive, sir. They're something else entirely. Something horrible and chaotic and impossibly effective. I recommend immediate reclassification of Earth from easy conquest to do not disturb under any circumstances." "You lost to primitives?" "No, sir. We lost to humans." "There's a difference. A very, very important difference." Back on Earth, the celebration was already underway. Someone had started printing commemorative T-shirts. The final score was being immortalized in song. And Admiral Steele was already planning humanity's victory parade. After all, they had 17 alien ships to return eventually. Maybe. If the aliens asked nicely and promised never to come back. The galaxy's newest apex predators were having a barbecue to celebrate. Bring your own battleship. The Korthak High Council chambers had never been so quiet. Supreme War Leader Gektorak stared at the debriefing report for the 15th time, as if reading it again might somehow change the numbers. "Let me understand this correctly. Fleet Commander Zax'motl," his voice carried the weight of 1,000 dying stars. "You took our finest fleet 9,900 ships to conquer a single primitive world. And you returned with 17? "Yes, sir." Zax'motl's voice was barely audible. "The humans, they don't fight like anyone else. They don't think like anyone else. They weaponized their own chaos. They turned your invasion into entertainment. Sir, they're still broadcasting highlights. Apparently, our retreat has become their most popular sporting event in recorded history." War Counselor Mex Thrall consulted his datapad with obvious distress. Intelligence reports are flooding in from across the galaxy. Every species now knows about the human incident. The Zephyrians have already marked Earth as absolutely forbidden. The Chromax have changed their expansion routes to avoid that entire sector. "And the Telarians?" asked Gektorax. "They sent a formal apology to Earth for the time they accidentally invaded their solar system 3 centuries ago, retroactively." The council chamber fell silent again. In the span of a single planetary rotation, humans had gone from unknown primitives to the galaxy's newest bogeymen. Species that had never heard of Earth were already adding it to their do-not-visit lists. "So," Gektorax said finally, "our assessment of primitive species needs revision." "Sir," Zax'motl ventured carefully, "I recommend we establish a new threat classification specifically for humans. Something beyond our current scale." "What would you call it?" Zax'motl considered this carefully. "Humans, sir. Just humans. Nothing else quite captures the specific type of terrifying they represent." And so it was that Earth became the first planet in galactic history to be classified as a threat level unto itself. The official diplomatic advisory now read, "Warning contains humans. Approach with extreme caution, large amounts of patience." and possibly snacks. Do not attempt conquest. Do not attempt first contact without professional supervision. Do not underestimate them because they seem primitive. They are not primitive. They are something far worse. They are creative. Word spread quickly through the galaxy's communication networks. Earth, the little blue marble that had defeated the Korthak Empire with flying garbage and weaponized food trucks, became the stuff of military academy case studies and late-night horror stories told around campfires on distant worlds. The humans, blissfully unaware of their new galactic reputation, continued doing human things, which, as the galaxy was learning, was terrifying enough.